Hello friends, in this video we'll see some of the case studies, tricky case studies relating to the time of supply which is relevant for your exam. We'll not discuss the basic provision of section 12, section 13, section 14 of the CGST Act. Directly we will see certain case studies and there you will see, I'm sure, oh, something like this is also there. I'm sure. Let's start. The first case study, that there is a supply of machinery, various components of the machinery, and that components are assembled. Let's see what is this case study. That on 4th July 25, a purchase order of rupees 12 lakh rupees has been received. Along with that, 50,000 rupees advance is received for supply of various components of the machinery. Okay, on 10th August 25, this machine is assembled, it is tested, accepted by the customer, enter in the books of the supplier. Okay, on 16th August 25, the invoice is raised. On 30th September 25, balance payment of 11,50,000 has been received. So what is the time of supply for this 50,000 rupees advance, for this balance payment of 11,50,000? That is the question. See, there are three points that we need to be noted here. There is a notification number 66 2017 which deals with that in case there is an advance for supply of goods, the time of supply, it is chargeable to tax when the other components are chargeable to tax, when the invoice is raised, okay, or the due date for invoice, whichever is earlier. So on the receipt of advance, the GST liability is not triggered. The GST is payable according to notification number 66 2017 when the time of supply for other components there. Okay, that we will see. So this is first point. Second point, this is a supply of goods. This is not a service relating to assemble installation. So this is a supply of goods. So section 12 of the CGST Act is applicable. Okay, so according, and we need to see section 31, that we need to read with section 12. Section 31 of the CGST Act deals with when to raise the invoice, the due date for raising the invoice, and section 12 deals with time of supply in case of goods. So according to section 31, when there is no movement of goods, see, there is no movement of goods, it is the machine is assembled at the customer site, there is no movement of goods. So in such a case, when the work is completed, accepted by the customer, that is the due date for raising the invoice according to section 31 of the CGST Act, which is 10th August. And according to section 12, time of supply for goods, it is the due date for raising the invoice or actual date of raising the invoice, whichever is earlier. In this case, the due date for raising the invoice is 10th August according to section 31. Actual date of invoice is 16th August. So whichever is earlier, so we will ignore 16th August and we'll consider 10th August. So on 10th August, the time of supply for 11,50,000, and by virtue of notification number 66 2017, 10th August is the time of supply for the advance of rupees 50,000 also. Remember friends, this notification number 66 2017 is applicable only in case of advance is received for goods. It is not applicable for advance received for the provision of service. Have you understood? Let's go ahead to the next case study. This is really what we can say a tricky. Lot of interpretation is there in this case study. So one of my friend told me that in cricket, if you see, this is really a Yorker. Okay, so what is this? That the advance received for goods, okay, and there is a change in tax rate. So understand the facts of the case carefully, that there is a advance on 1st March. Okay. The invoice is raised on 1st April. Okay. GST rate change on 2nd April from 12% to 18%. It's hypothetical example. And date of supply, that is the material is supplied on 3rd April. So here there are two questions. What is the time of supply? And second, at what rate GST is payable, whether it is 12% or 18%, and what is the time of supply, whether 1st March, 1st April, 3rd April, what it is. See, let's make it simple. The question is difficult, but let's make it simple, the answer. Whenever there is a change in tax rate, section 14 comes into play. What is given in section 14? The principle. There are three events. One is payment, second is invoice, third is supply. Out of these three events, if two events, that is majority of the events, happen before the change in tax rate, then the old tax rate will apply. If out of these three events, that is the date of supply, date of invoice, date of payment, if out of these three events, any two events happen after the change in tax rate, then the new tax rate is applied. Have you understood this? Yes. So in this example, there is a date of payment on 1st March, which is before the change in GST rate. Date of invoice is on 1st April, before the change in GST rate. And the date of supply is after the change in tax rate. So the two events are happened before the rate change. So the old rate will be applicable. Okay, according to section 14. Now comes to the question of time of supply. There we need to see section 14 and notification number 66. Both the things we need to see. We cannot say that section notification number 66 override section 14 or section 14 override notification number 66. On the contrary, we need to do harmonious construction, give effect to both the provision. Just now we saw that the rate is applicable is 12% GST, and the time of supply, the notification number 66 will be applicable because this notification number 66 2017 is a specific over the general provision. Okay, so the time of supply according to section 14 is the date of payment, that is 1st March. However, there is a specific notification number 66 2017 which provides that in case of the advance for supply of goods, the due date for the invoice or actual date of invoice, whichever is earlier, the due date for raising the invoice in this case is the date of supply, that is 3rd April. The actual date of invoice is 1st April. Therefore, in this case, the time of supply by virtue of notification number 66 2017 is 1st April. Have you understood? This was a tricky question. Surely such type of question will come in the exam. So the old rate will be applied because the two events, date of payment and date of invoice, happened before the change in tax rate, and the tax liability by virtue of time of supply by virtue of notification number 66 2017 is the date of invoice, that is 1st April and not 1st March. Have you understood this? Very important. That surely, I am very much sure that such things will come in the exam. Let's go to the next. RCM service in case of services. Okay, let's see the facts of the case. The payment entered in the books of the recipient 28 September. Payment debited in the bank 30 September. Date of issue of invoice by the supplier 20 July. One day after 60 days, that is 19th September. Okay. So what is the time of supply in this case? See, what is provided in section 13 is that we need to consider two things. We will not consider directly the date of invoice by the supplier, which is 20 July. Rather, it given 61 days. How 61 days? What is mentioned is the one day after 60 days from the date of invoice. That is 61 days. Don't make mistake of 60 days. One day after 60 days from the date of invoice issued by the supplier. So that is 61 days. In this case, the date of issue of invoice by the supplier is 20 July. So what is the 61 day? 20 July. So 11 days of July, correct? 31 days of August. So total 42 days. Then 18 days of September, which comes to 18 September, 60 days. One day after, so 19 September. 19 September, this we need to compare with the date of payment in the books 28 September or date when it is debited in the bank, whichever is earlier. So in this case 28 September. So 28 September, 19 September, whichever is earlier is the 19 September. So the time of supply in this case is 19 September 2014. Have you understood? Have you understood 61 days? Okay. There is one more point here, that this what we discussed is for non-associated enterprise. Suppose there is a transaction, that is import of service, and the RCM liability is payable in case of associated enterprise. Associated enterprise, the same definition is there, what is given in section 92 of Income Tax Act. In that case, we need to consider the date of entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. That is 28 August 2014. So that is the time of supply. Okay. Date of entry in the books, not date of payment. See, date of payment is 28 September. Don't get confused. Specifically, such dates are given by the institute. See, date of entry of that service expenses in the books of the recipient associated enterprise is 28 August. So 28 August is the time of supply. Only in case of associated enterprise. In normal cases other than associated enterprise, just now we saw 19 September 2014 is the time of supply. Okay. Let's go to the next. This is really a tough. It is advance is received in case of service and there is a change in tax rate. Let's see the facts of the case. ABC company is there, which is a event management company, arranges event for another company, let's say a software company XYZ Limited. The ABC Private Limited received 5 lakh rupees advance on 15th May and the event is on 15th June. So 1 month before the advance is received. The invoice for the entire value of 15 lakh was raised on 15th June. That is the date of advance. That is the date when the event happened. Correct? And GST rate is increased from 12% to 18% on 1st June. Have you understood the question? 5 lakh rupees advance is received for the event, that is for the service, before the change in tax rate. the event is after the tax, after the change in tax rate, and the invoice is raised after the change in tax rate for the entire value. Now, what is the GST payable on this advance of 5 lakh rupees received by the event management company? This is a question. There are 2-3 points which need to be remembered, we need to understand. First point, notification number 66 2017 is not applicable in this case, because this is a supply of service that is applicable only in case of advance received for supply of goods. Eliminate. Okay, first point eliminated. What is the time of supply in case when the advance is received? But tell me one thing, that from where it is coming that on advance GST is payable? You see the scope of supply given in section 7 of the CGST Act. What it means? Supply include all forms of supply made or agreed to be made. This made or agreed to be made. Because of this, the advance is liable to tax. So you need to understand from where it is coming. Which provision? Section 7, which deals with the scope of supply. Because of that, the advance is chargeable to GST. So the time of supply in case of an advance is 15th May. Advance is received. Okay, the things are not that simple. If it has been set simple, I would have not asked. Okay, now if you see section 14, there is change in tax rate. So section 14 will come into picture. What are the 3 events? There is an advance, correct, before the change in tax rate. The supply is on 15th June. When the event happened, the service is provided, correct? So 15th June, that is after the change in tax rate. And the invoice is also raised after the change in tax rate on the date of supply by virtue of section 31. Okay. So the 2 events are happened after the change in tax rate. That is the date of invoice and date of supply is after the change in tax rate. So the new rate is applicable. So in this case, the event management company needs to pay differential 6% on 15th June. Time of supply is 15th June and they need to pay differential 6% on this 5 lakh rupees. Tricky question, but important. Okay, have you understood? Coming to the next, interest for delayed payment of consideration. These are the facts. Basically what it is, that there is a delay in payment, and because of that delay the penal interest is there, that the interest is payable. Now let me straightforward give the answer, that there are 2-3 points that you need to keep in mind. First, this is not a financial interest. What is financial interest? That is the interest received for extending the deposit or loan. That is financial interest. That interest is exempt from GST. First point. This is not a financial interest. This is a interest for delayed payment. Whether it is chargeable to tax by virtue of section 15(2)(d), this is very well chargeable to tax. What it's provided in section 15(2) subclause 2(d), that if there is a delayed interest that is to be added to the value to arrive at, that is to be added to the price to arrive at transaction value. So this interest is not having any independent existence, correct? The GST rate as per the principal supply of goods or principal supply of service is chargeable. Same rate applies. Same HSN applies of the principal supply. Then according to section 12 and section 13 in case of goods and services respectively. This interest GST is payable on this interest of delayed payment on receipt basis. See, normally GST is payable on accrual basis. That is, you raise the invoice, you pay the GST irrespective of the receipt of money. Correct? Correct. So in all provision, accrual system is followed. But this is an exception that when there is an interest for delayed payment, the GST liability is to be paid on receipt basis, cash basis, only when you actually received. Now the invoice is already raised. How you will do procedural part? You need to raise the debit note. Okay? Have you understood this? Thank you.